you do the proper research, you have the proper people in place, you talk to the right people, it can really be a good thing for you. Get into the actual deal. So this deal is Hey guys, it's your girl Ashley and welcome back to another one of my YouTube videos. So in today's video, we are talking everything hard money lending. So I get a lot of questions as to how we are funding our deals. If you follow me, then you know my husband and I closed on like 3 investment properties within a matter of like 8 to 9 months. And so a lot of people ask, like, how are you doing it? Are you using VA loan? Are you using traditional lenders? And one of the strategies that we do utilize is hard money lending. So I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about what hard money lending is. Is it beneficial for you? The pros, the cons to it. And then I'm also going to walk you through an actual deal that we just did on a property. And so my hope is to inspire you guys and kind of open your mind to know that just because you don't have enough capital or you don't have, money to borrow or certain assets, there are ways, there are strategies to make it happen and to get it done. And this is one of the methods. If you find the right property and the numbers make sense, and it's all about the property and the numbers, hard money lending could essentially change your life when it comes to real estate investing, especially if you are a flipper or a real estate investor that, rehabs your properties and you want to hold them and utilize them as a long-term rental or short-term rental. So if you're new to my channel, I'm Ashley. Hi, welcome, stay a while. Subscribe button, like this video, and drop me a comment. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if you learned something new. Educate me on something that maybe I don't know. And let me know if you think that this is a strategy that you want to use in the future. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the video. So what is hard money lending? Hard money lending in a nutshell is a short-term non-conforming loan. Non-conforming meaning it does not follow the guidelines of Freddie and Fannie, so your traditional lending. These loans do not come from a typical lender or a traditional bank. Think of more so of like your private lender or your private company. So let's just say you and 3 of your other friends who are millionaires, and y'all go in and say, we have a bunch of money and we're going to loan the money out to real estate investors and flippers with a high interest rate, but it's going to be based off of the asset or whatever they're purchasing and not so their credit history. So that is what hard money lending is. Basically, you are getting money from a private investor, somebody that just has liquid cash available that they can pay out essentially in a matter of 2 or 3 days. You're not waiting the normal bank, you're not waiting 30 days to close on a property. It's readily available. So that is what hard money lending is in a nutshell. Who would most benefit from a hard money loan? Builders, real estate investors, flippers especially, and any individual that is trying to get into the real estate world and they're like rehabbing projects, or they want to purchase a property, but they have credit issues. Those are the people that you will see who will most benefit from a hard money loan. If you are just buying a traditional home, you don't want to utilize a hard money loan for that, just because of the mere fact that the interest rate is going to be through the roof, because that's how they make their money. That's why they're so inclined to lend the money to you, because it's going to be an interest only loan. So it's not going against the principal amount of the house. You're just paying this lender 12, 13, 14, 15, up to 21% at times on this loan while you rehab your property. So those are the individuals that it will benefit. Let's get into some of the pros of hard money lending. So the number one pro for me is the mere fact that if you have the right property and the right deal and the right numbers, you can literally purchase the property, rehab the property with little to no money out of your pocket. In this deal that I'm going to illustrate for you guys that we did, that was essentially the case. Like, we brought very little money to the table. I mean, very little. And it was all because it was the right deal. So, and in some cases, and I'm going to actually show you an example of, had we tweaked it just a little bit, we would have came to the table with no money down at all. That is not always the case. However, if you do it correctly, that is what the end result should be with any hard money loan. You coming to the table with little to no money down at all. Getting your project fully funded without you doing anything. All right, pro number 2. There is a less strenuous underwriting process. So there is no, I gotta send in this bank statement, I gotta send in these tax returns, I gotta send in this document. The underwriting process is super easy. It's not strict, because again, it's not based off of your finances and your credit. It's based off of that asset at hand, because ultimately, if you fought on it, then those hard money lenders are getting that property and they're getting all of those monthly payments that you paid, and you end up with nothing. Pro number 3, you can close really quickly. So it can be a good bargaining tool. So let's say there's a property that's listed on the MLS or like Zillow or Redfin or something like that, and you're competing with other buyers, say somebody who has a VA loan or somebody that's going through a traditional loan. If you have a hard money deal, that's essentially like cash, because you can close on it within like 2 or 3 days. Whereas somebody that's going through a traditional loan, there's like a 30-day process. They got to go through underwriting. There is no guarantee. If I'm coming with hard money, I can give the seller their money within a matter of 3 days. So that's a huge pro and a good bargaining tool when you're using hard money lending. And the last pro is going to be the lender essentially makes their own rules. So they don't have to abide by all the guidelines that if you were getting like a Fannie or a Freddie loan through a traditional loan, there's a lot of like guidelines and stipulations and rules. The hard money lender, it doesn't, they can make their own rules. So it's a lot more flexible, essentially. Now let's get into some cons. All right, so we already kind of talked about a high interest rate. Your interest rate on a hard money loan can be anywhere from 12% to 21%. But the goal is for you to only be in that loan for a short period of time. So for us, this project took us 4 months to rehab, and so we were only paying that for 4 months. But again, it's interest only, so it's not going against anything. When you pay your monthly mortgage, it's at least going against the principal interest or like the balance of your home. When you're in a hard money loan, you're just paying somebody $12, $15, $17, $2,000 a month while your rehab is going on, and that money is just going to them. It's not going against anything. So that is a con. So make sure that you understand cons of hard money lending is it is riskier. So you don't have a lot of security. If your project runs over 4 months or 5 months, now you're stuck in this 19% interest rate because your contractors faulted on you, or they found out that it was going to take 6 months instead of 3 months to complete your project. So it's a lot riskier. And then also you deal a lot with appraisals and after repair values. So if the property doesn't appraise for what you thought it was, that can have you in a pickle, both with the hard money lender and on the refinancing side. We talked about earlier that one of the pros is coming to the table with little to no money. But a con, if you don't do your research and you don't get comps, you don't have like a good broker or a good real estate agent that specifically deals with individuals that invest in properties, or they understand how to pull the correct comps, you'll find yourself in a situation where you're bringing money to the table, and a lot of money to the table. So it kind of defeats the whole purpose of the hard money loan. But if you're in a situation where you have really bad credit and you have no other choice, then that can be a con. Like, you will end up coming to the table with a lot more money than if you had good credit and you went through a traditional lender. So those are some of the pros and cons. I just kind of wanted to touch on that before we actually got into a live deal. Now let's talk about some real numbers, some live deals, and how hard money lending can really work for you if you do the proper research, you have the proper people in place, you talk to the right people. It can really be a good thing for you. Into the actual deal. So this deal is, oh my gosh, I'm just excited the way that this deal happened. It was actually a property that my broker found for us, and I'll do a story time on this on a different video, but my broker found this property for us and it was just an amazing deal. She was forming an area that she knows I like to have my Airbnbs in, and she came across this property from essentially like a distressed landlord who just no longer wanted anything to do with this property. So it ended up being a good deal for both her and I. We both did well in this deal. So the purchase price for this property, and I have my laptop because I want to make sure I get all my numbers right and so that it can make sense. So the purchase price for this property was $108,000. We paid $108,000 for the property. That is what the landlord essentially wanted. Well, actually, the landlord sold the property to my broker for $98,000. My broker assigned the property to me for $108,000. So that's a whole nother lesson. Like, you can literally do so much with real estate. You can be essentially a wholesaler, because that's essentially what happened. She's a broker, but essentially she used a wholesaling strategy that benefited her and it benefited me as well for this property. And so even if you're not ready to just start purchasing properties because you don't have the capital or whatever the case may be, you can go out and find amazing deals like she found for me and then just purchase them she didn't have to put any money up. She just signed the contract, but then she assigned the contract to me. And so when we closed on the deal, they cut her a check for $10K, and then they cut the seller a check for $98K. And it was that simple. And there was no money that she put up. It just kind of was all worked in the deal. But again, that's a different video. So purchase price $108K. And then in order to rehab the property, we came up with an estimate of $45K. So we worked with a general contractor. We kind of went through everything that we wanted to do to the property, and we came up with a $40K number. That was going to be our budget for the full rehab. And then closing costs. Closing costs to close on this property was $12,090.40. So when you take those three numbers, the purchase price, the amount of the rehab, and the closing costs, the total amount that we needed to make this deal happen was going to be $165,090.04. All right, so we got that out the way. I just wanted to make sure, if you're not in the real estate world, I want to make sure I break this down so the numbers can completely make sense. So you'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I get it. So I just took those three numbers: purchase price, closing costs, and my rehab costs. That is what it was going to take. Those were the three numbers that I utilized to get how much it was going to cost us to make this deal happen. All right, so what the hard money lender does is he basically tells you, hey, we're gonna send somebody out to the property based off of what you say that you're going to do. So based off of the $45K rehab, we said we're going to put this type of granite in, we're going to change the cabinets out, we're going to convert the garage to a 4th bedroom, we're going to put all laminate flooring down, and so on. So everything that we're going to do, they go out, they look at the property, they look at your list of items that you said you were going to do, and then based off of that, they send an appraiser to the property to appraise the property to say what the property would be worth after all of these repairs are done. So that is your ARV, your after repair value. So based off of what we said we were going to do, the appraiser said that when this rehab is complete, this property will be worth $210,000. So that's a pretty good number considering we purchased this price for 108K. We're putting in 45K into it. So essentially we'll have like close to 40K of equity in this property. So that was a good after repair value number for us. So based off of your after repair value, that is going to determine how much the hard money lender is going to lend you. So traditional lenders is typically 80% of whatever the number is that you're looking for. That's where you get the 20% down. So hard money lenders, they're not giving you 80%. It's like 65%, 70, 75%. And I think 75 at loan to value is kind of on the high side. But I think because we had a relationship with our broker who has utilized this particular hard money lender multiple times, he kind of, gave us a good deal. So he said, okay, we're going to loan you 75% of what the property is going to be worth after you're done with the rehab. So that number came out to be $157,500. So we have $157,000 that the hard money lender is saying we are going to loan you. So if you look if you look at the total deal is $165,000. So we still would have money that we need to bring in order to make this deal happen. But if you look at our credits, I listed the $157,000, the $2,500 of earnest money that we originally put down, so that gets credited back to us. And then we had a seller credit of like $538. When you add those three numbers up, those credits that I have listed, and you subtract them from the $165,090.04 that it's going to take to close the deal, you will get a balance of $4,551.88. So that is the amount that we had to bring to the table to close this deal. Y'all, that's less than 5K. To purchase this house, to rehab it, to bring this to life, you can borrow 5K from anybody, essentially. That's how simple it has to be, or that's how simple it is when your numbers when your numbers work and you have the right property, which is why it is extremely important for you to surround yourself with the right people. You need to have the right real estate agent that deals with investors, the right broker that can give you the comps to let you know, hey, this is going to be a good deal. These numbers are going to work in your favor. This is one that you need to pull the trigger on. It's important to educate yourself, to learn different strategies, because there are ways that people close and purchase properties every single day, and they don't have tons of thousands of dollars in their bank account, and they're still out here making it happen. So make sure you're educating yourself. You're watching YouTube videos. You're subscribing to my channel. You are, investing in that real estate course because it's from a credible source. All of that matters. All of that is going to get you closer to your goal of financial freedom. But it is out there. The tools are out there. The strategies are out there. They work if you do your due diligence. So that's the deal, y'all. Like literally less than 5K for us to close on this property and to complete the rehab. So let's look at the deal. If I would have, let's say, been able to get my rehab down to 40K, all the numbers still stay the same. Your purchase price is still 108K. You are still having a closing cost of $12,000, but now your rehab is 5K less. So now you take those two numbers and you add 108K plus your 12K of closing costs plus your new 40K of rehab, and you should get a number something like $160,090.04. So now your deal to close, so now your new amount to make this deal happen is $160,000, right? So everything else stays the same. Your loan to value, your ARV stays the same, and that loan amount, your credits are staying the same. So now you're adding the numbers up, 157,000 plus the 2,500 of earnest and the $538.16 of seller credit. Add those three numbers up, subtract that number from the new number of 160K, and that gives you a negative $448 and some change, which essentially is now you're not bringing anything to the table. The hard money lender is essentially giving you a check for $448. Does that make sense? Like, isn't that crazy? Like, when my broker told me about hard money lending, and we looked at some properties and we kind of determined that no, this is not going to work. Like, the numbers just don't work. So we passed on quite a few properties utilizing the hard money route. But this one, y'all, it works. It works. And it's a situation where if we didn't want to be like over the top with our rehab, and we could have got it down to 35K, or in this case 40K, we could have closed this deal with no money down, bringing nothing to the table. It works, y'all. It works. Yeah, so I just really wanted to share this with you guys. But I also, I kind of shows you, and y'all know that I'm all about the pros and the cons. Like, I never want to be the person that is on my platform just saying, oh, watch my videos or purchase my course because of all of the good things. I want you to know the good, and I want you to know the bad as well. I want you to know how it works well and when it doesn't work well. So in this last example, let's just kind of talk about, what the numbers look like, or let's do a situation where we make the numbers not work in our favor. What would be a situation where you wouldn't want to utilize a hard money lender? Okay, guys, so let's take this same property. So same purchase price, 108K. We're doing a 45K rehab. My closing cost is still the same. My loan to value, it remains the same. However, when the appraiser went out, based off of the appraiser, he said, and based off of the other houses around the house, or whatever the case may be, the house is only going to appraise for 195K. So that's not going to be good for us, because now you're going to take the 108, the 45, and the 12 for the closing costs. You're going to add those numbers, and you're still going to have a number of, you need $165,000 to close this deal. But now your ARV at 195K, 75% of that is now only $146,250. So when you subtract the 146, 250, the 2,500 of earnest, and the $538 from the seller, when you subtract that from that 165, now you get a balance of $18,840.04. So now you're coming to the table with close to 19K in order to make this deal happen. And then also, if you notice on the slide, I have 4-month holding, meaning you are estimating that this project is going to take you 4 months to do it. Well, as long as you're within every month for those 4 months, you have to make for us. So the interest rate that we got for this loan was 11.99%. So every month we're paying almost 12% of interest only. It's not going towards anything. It's just going to the pockets of that lender. So if you go over that 4-month period, so not only did you have to come out of your pocket with close to 19K to make the deal happen, our first monthly payment with our numbers, not these numbers, but the first scenario we went over, our first payment was $1,486.93. Each month it increased because the loan amount increased based off of the 45K. And we'll talk about that in my part 2 video. So in part 2 of this video, I am going to go through the entire process of what it looks like what form we had to submit. How did we get the 45K for the rehab? Like, how did they release it to us? Did they just deposit it into our bank account? The whole process of what walking you through it step by step of what it looks like once you close the deal. What does that relationship with the hard money lender looks like? What does that look like when you're dealing with your contractors? That's going to be in part 2, so make sure you stay tuned. But anyways, to get back onto this, because I'm going to have to come to the table with almost 19K, this is not a deal that would make sense to me. I would now want to go back and reevaluate some numbers and say, well, would it just make sense for me to go the traditional route, since I'm going to have to put almost 19K, 20K down anyway? Let me see what this looks like if I just have to put, if I utilize this as like maybe a second home and I only have to put 15% down, or if I can't utilize it as a second home because I have a second home already, if I have to put 20% down, what does that number look like? And does the benefits outweigh it? Because at least that 20% that I'm putting down is going towards the actual purchase price of the home. So I just kind of wanted to show you guys multiple examples of when it works well, when it works perfectly, and when it doesn't work, or you may have to reevaluate things and say, yep, nope, I'm not going to utilize this strategy for this particular property because these numbers just don't make sense. Y'all, I hope you guys learned something new. I hope you enjoyed my video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Drop me a comment. Let me know if you learned anything new. Let me know your thoughts. Hit me up if you have any questions, and stay tuned to part 2 of this video. Bye, guys.